As you guys can see, here's Robert C. Braddock Field, named after the professor who started soccer here at SVSU. It's home to the men's and women's team. You can see they got artificial turf. Off in the background there is the clubhouse. It's for the football team and the men's and women's soccer teams to use in the winter. Off in the background there, you'll see their football stadium, and you got the softball field and the baseball field off to the left. So wedged right in between all of the other athletic complexes, or the athletic fields. You guys can see a nice big announcer's box off over there, right over the stands. That's pretty cool. And this was actually built back in 2007 for the men's and women's team. Here's a look at the press box. It's definitely new and updated. Definitely elevated off the ground too. Give you a good shot of the field if you're an announcer or a journalist. You guys can see too, here's the stands, and then just over here you can see the proximity of it, but there's the scoreboard for the football stadium. I mean, what, just like 100 yards away? And then you got the softball field literally, you know, almost touching the stands here. So if one of the softball players hits a home run, it might hit one of the soccer fans in the head. You guys can see the scoreboard right here. It's hard to see it, but it says Robert C. Braddock Field above there. The man who began soccer here at SVSU, and he actually began the men's program back in 1979. And their biggest accomplishment actually came back in 2012. That year, they would go 19-3-4, completing the double, winning the regular season GLIAC title and beating Notre Dame of Ohio in the GLIAC tournament final 1-0. They would then ride that momentum all the way to a national championship appearance. They would beat Quincy in the first round. They would then beat Rockhurst of Missouri in the round of 16 2-1. Then in the quarterfinals, they would beat Northeastern State 1-0 before going to Evans, Georgia, and playing against Simon Fraser and beating them 3-1. Unfortunately, their luck would run out against Lynn University of Florida, losing 3-2 in the championship game. They were actually down 2-0 at halftime before going down 3-0 at the beginning of the second half. They would pull it back with 2 late goals in the 77th minute and the 82nd minute to make it 3-2. But unfortunately, that was the end of it. And they would finish second place in the entire nation. But still not bad for a tiny college from the middle of nowhere. They also would make tournament appearances in 2011, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2022. So from 2014 all the way to 2018, they would make 5 straight appearances, which is pretty impressive. And it probably has to do with the fact that one of their head coaches is a man that you may have heard of. His name was Cale Wasserman. He actually was one of the assistant head coaches of Detroit City FC back when they played in the NPSL. And he was the head coach here for 5 seasons, going 64, 23, and 17. And he was actually the head coach of their team that appeared in the national title game, and that was only his 3rd season here. He had 2 regular season titles, 2 conference tourney titles, and 3 national tournament appearances. Looks like it's my lucky day. You guys can see the benches. It's got the covering on it. I like the bushes behind it. SVSU soccer. So with the good times, there always ends up coming bad times. And usually on my channel, I don't like to cover negative things. I just like to talk about how much I love soccer and how much I love the stadiums. But unfortunately, in this episode, I can't help but talk about from 2013 to 2018, unfortunately, SVSU, their soccer program, had to vacate 53 wins for student athletes being ineligible. It affected all the sports programs, but in particular, those 53 wins affected the soccer program. So if you go online, you'll see a lot of their accomplishments got wiped off because of the 53 wins that they had to vacate, which was very unfortunate too, because those times were some of the best times that SVSU had from 2013 to 2018, making 5 straight. Here's a better shot of the scoreboard. You can see it. Robert C. Braddock Field. I like that they named it after the professor who founded the club team here back in the 70s. And he was also the head coach for the first 10 seasons of the men's program. Come up in here in the stands. Here's a good shot of the whole field. You can see the club, or the field house off in the background. So I talked earlier about there being a women's program here at SVSU, and they actually began back in 1996. And in their almost 30-year history, they have no trophies to show for anything. They do, however, have 2 14-win seasons back in 2009 and 2014, or 2021, I'm sorry, not 2014. So 2021 and 2009 were their 2 most winningest seasons when they had 14 wins. And in that 2021 season, they would actually face one of their arch rivals, Ferris State, in the opening round of the NCAA tournament, and they would defeat them, and they would lose 2 rounds later, unfortunately, to their other arch rival, Grand Valley State, 2-0 in the last 16. So a few years ago, they actually would make their best tournament run. And in 2009, their other great season, they would lose to Quincy. And they actually would lose to them at Northern Kentucky Stadium. It always comes back to Northern Kentucky in my videos, doesn't it? And they have 4 tournament appearances total. The 2009 and 2021 season, like I said, but then also in 2014 and 2018. So unfortunately, not too much to report on the women's end. They definitely don't have all the drama like the men do.